some words with you about how important this work is. So Liliana Ayala is going to come up here in a second. She's a local environmental and civic leader. She's a member of the Seattle Women's Commission. I've got a long list of all the great things she does. She's vice chair of the Seattle Parks District Oversight Committee, which plays a real critical role as we roll out the Seattle Park District. She's a committee member for the City of Seattle Equity and Environmental Initiative. She served on local communities environment and the environment throughout her work at Earth Corps, Nature Consortium, Nature Conservancy, U.S. Forest Service, and Student Conservation Association. She recently joined the Environmental Leadership Program as a program manager, leading a new conservation fellowship for people of color. And Liliana uses her training and leadership to help address issues of gender and racial disparity for women and families in Seattle. So, welcome.
Wow, is that me? Thank you, Jesus, and thank you all for sharing your morning with me. I really appreciate it. Recently I've been thinking a lot about volunteerism. What does that mean? What does it look like? What does civic engagement mean? I think as of late I've been interested in reframing that dialogue to think about it in a way that is more human-centric. And what I mean by that is a question I've been thinking about is, what does it look like to see love in action? And there's not a right answer to that. And for any one person, it looks like several different things. For some, it might be celebrating a birthday with a barbecue in the park. It could be making a meal for your family, or planting a salmon berry next to a complete stranger in the forest. For myself, love in action can be making the decision to be of service to my community. I feel like one of the most valuable gifts that we can give is the gift of time. It's a gift that we can never get back, so it's one that is that we have to be selective about giving away. It's also a gift that not everybody has the privilege to give away either. Yesterday, I spent some time at Daybreak Star among some of our state's most passionate community leaders, activists, and organizers for the Communities of Color for Climate Justice Summit. We spent the day sharing stories, learning about each other's passions, making connections, and building community. The space was filled with elders and young people, faith-based leaders, tribal leaders, farm workers, and folks of many, many different walks of life. This was a space that was intentionally a multi-ethnic, multicultural, intergenerational space with folks who advocate from various issues, from tribal fishing rights, equitable health care, anti-displacement, farm workers' rights, environmental policy, and much, much more. We listened to each other, we ate food together, and shared stories of our culture and of our professional journeys. At the end of the day, we walked out the doors full of hope, exhausted from all the excited dialogue, but re-energized in each other's commitment to working together and building an intersectional approach to climate change. One that puts our most vulnerable populations at the forefront of this movement, leading it, calling for equitable justice for all. For me, this is what love in action looks like. Today, I have the great fortune of spending the morning with you all. A room full of multiple voices, young people and elders, folks from all sorts of walks of life. Each of you woke up this morning making a decision to give your time and energy to steward one of Seattle's most dynamic forests. Most of my career in the environmental field has entailed doing forest restoration, making planting plans, putting plants in the earth, pulling my fair share of ivy, and planning volunteer events just like this one for Great Seattle Day. I've learned many lessons throughout that time, like always provide a context for the work. Remember to bring enough gloves and water for folks, to have patience, and to make room for all voices and stories, especially those who frequently get left out of the mainstream environmental narrative. and to remember to think about the big picture. Today it might seem like you're merely spending a few hours putting some plants in the ground, but it's way much more than that. You're meeting new people, you're exchanging stories while working alongside each other to nurture an ecosystem, a fragile but resilient ecosystem full of life that provides a habitat for not only plants and animals, but one that gives life to community and holds the legacy of many individuals. The legacy of the Duwamish tribe, the legacy of families who have lived in Seattle for generations and generations, the legacy of recent transplants and the immigrant and refugee communities, and now the legacies of you and of me. So today, these plants might seem like a drop in the bucket, a tiny brown twig or a little sprout of green that you're plugging into the soil. But as you're doing that, think about this. There's something restorative about this work, not just for the earth, but for us as well. Our ancestors knew this. They foraged for herbs to make salves and medicines. They cared for the land, preserving traditional foods. They worked the land to grow food for subsistence and nourishment. And they took care of the earth because they knew if they did that, the earth would take care of them. These are things that are still being done. Traditions have been kept alive by our elders and passed down to us. Traditions that are central to our culture, to my culture. Through the soil, we are all connected. So think about these next few hours as intentional time to heal and reconnect with yourselves, with each other, your community, and the earth. Come back and visit these little plants. In 2-3 years, they'll leap to new heights. They'll take time to grow, but most things worth something take time. Bring your families, bring your friends, and build memories in these spaces. These places have told the stories of many and will for years to come. This too is what love in action looks like. So have fun today and try to meet some new people. Stay warm, listen to each other, and be present in this time. And remember that these places are for everyone, and they're for you. So thank you so much. Have fun today.